I went to northern Yang in place of the princess to marry for political alliance. It wasn't until 5 years later, when the southern Chu army captured the Yang capital, that I was able to return to my homeland, only to discover there was a substitute who had taken over everything that belonged to me. My parents became her parents, and my home became her home. Even my childhood sweetheart, who was once engaged to me, fell in love with her, because I took the princess's place in a political marriage. She, benefiting from my merits, became a frequent guest in the palace, a favored companion of the nobility, showered with countless honors and privileges. After I returned, she poisoned my tea. Enduring the excruciating pain in my internal organs, I saw her hiding behind my childhood sweetheart. Snickering, I drew the sword from the guard and swung it at them. Let no one live, we'll all go to hell together. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day when the southern Chu army breached the capital of Yang. I pressed the blade against the neck of the northern Yang emperor, waiting for the southern Chu army to storm into the Taiji hall. Under their astonished gazes, I raised my eyebrows. Great general, you have kept me waiting for far too long. We, your humble servants, respectfully welcome the princess back to the court, having captured the emperor of northern Yang alive. My achievements are even greater than in my previous life. So, upon returning to southern Chu, the emperor personally led all civil and military officials out of the city to welcome them. This was both to welcome the triumphant army and to greet Princess Changning, who had married for the sake of the nation. 5 years ago, the emperor was reluctant to part with his own daughter, so he planned to select a daughter from among the ministers' families, for the sake of wealth and honor. My father offered me up. The emperor recognized me as his adopted daughter and bestowed upon me the title Changning. I bowed gracefully and said, "Your Majesty, I have fulfilled my mission, assisting the Grand General in overthrowing northern Yang and capturing the deposed emperor." The emperor said with relief, "Good child, your contribution is the greatest. This is exactly what I wanted to hear. From now on, no one can deny that I am a meritorious subject of southern Chu." That evening, a banquet was held in the palace to welcome me and the soldiers back. I accompanied the emperor and empress, entering the banquet hall with them. My seat is at the head of the princesses. I want everyone to know that I am not a discarded pawn. All the torment and humiliation I endured in northern Yang have now become my medals upon returning to southern Chu. Anyone who dares to look down on me or insult me is the one truly at fault. My gaze swept over the high-ranking officials, noble ladies, and their sons and daughters below, and it happened to meet Song Fengli's eyes. That face, which bore a 60 to 70% resemblance to mine, curved slightly at the brows and eyes, exuding endless charm. She appeared harmless, yet she was the one who poisoned me in my previous life. During the banquet, the emperor affectionately asked me, "Princess Changning, your marriage alliance has greatly benefited the state. What reward would you like?" I replied with great composure, "Your Majesty, I humbly request that you bestow upon me a residence, so that I may live more comfortably in the days to come." Anyone with a discerning ear could tell that I was subtly implying my parents had not been kind to me. Many curious and critical glances fell upon my parents, making them feel as if they were sitting on pins and needles. This was the retribution they deserved. Besides, this is just the beginning. In my previous life, after I returned safely to the court, they despised me for having been the woman of the deposed northern Yang emperor and even wanted me to die to prove my loyalty. Song Fengli repeatedly framed me with such clumsy methods. Could they really not see through them? When you analyze many things carefully, they are not innocent at all. The emperor cast a heavy glance at my father, then said to me with a smile, "I grant your request." I knelt and expressed my gratitude. The empress said, "When Changning was sent for a political marriage, she was just 15, now she is at the age of 20. Your Majesty might consider arranging a marriage for Changning." The emperor nodded thoughtfully and asked me, "What does Changning think?" My gaze swept over the people below once more, and when it landed on Meng Huiqing, he quickly lowered his head and turned away, as if afraid I would see him and insist on marrying him. We have known each other since childhood, growing up together, and our engagement was called off due to a political marriage alliance. I can fully accept and understand that he fell in love with someone else, but of all people, he had to fall in love with that stand-in, shielding and indulging her as she framed me time and time again, even knowing that she had poisoned me. He still shielded her behind him, watching me succumb to the poison, writhing in agony with my features contorted. The sensation of my internal organs burning as if scorched by fire. Even now, just thinking about it, I feel so much pain that I can hardly breathe. I took a deep breath and said slowly, "I have just returned to my homeland and would like to rest for a while before discussing other matters." The emperor agreed. "Let's set this topic aside for now." It was clear that many people breathed a sigh of relief. Princess Jiaoning sat beside me, remaining silent the entire time. It wasn't until after the banquet ended that she followed me out. Just like when I was a child, she timidly called out, "Sister Xiangyi." It's the Xiangyi from Shen Xiangyi, not the title Changning. 5 years ago, the one originally meant to be sent for a political marriage was Princess Jiaoning, her birth mother. Consort Liu knelt outside the imperial study for 2 hours before the emperor revoked the decree. The one who was once close to me has ultimately become me. Jiaoning lowered her head and said, "I'm sorry." I looked at her, bent over with her head lowered, and slightly narrowed my eyes. I held resentment towards her in my heart. Blame her for enjoying the glory of being a princess but refusing to bear the responsibilities of one. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to be sacrificed. But more than blaming her, I hate my biological parents even more. They abandoned me for the sake of wealth and status. You even got a double to disgust me and caused my death. Sister Xiangyi, I know it was my selfishness and cowardice that led to you being sent away for a political marriage. I don't ask for your forgiveness, I just want to do something for you. I stared at her steadily. "Anything." She hesitated for a moment, then said with a determined look, "Anything." I said a single word. "Good." Jiaoning was instantly overjoyed, looking at me with excitement. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. But the smile didn't reach my eyes. Out of guilt toward me, she went out of her way to assist Song Fengli everywhere, allowing a person of unknown origins to become the one showered with attention among the noble ladies of the capital. Now I want to see how Song Fengli will be the center of attention. At the palace gate, the Shun family was all waiting for me. Father had a stern face, while Mother and Song Fengli were sitting in the carriage. When they saw me approaching, not only did they not come forward to greet me, but they also showed signs of blame. The palace maid Rongyue by my side, who was bestowed by the empress, raised her voice and announced, "The princess has returned to the estate. All members of the Shun family shall perform a half bow." My father looked at me in disbelief, but upon seeing the entourage behind me, he had no choice but to bend at the waist and bow. Hearing my father's voice, my mother and Song Fengli hurriedly descended from the carriage and bowed to me. Amid their suppressed anger, I let out a light scoff and boarded the most luxurious-looking carriage of the Shun family. Song Fengli helped her mother, wanting to board the carriage. Rongyue stopped them. "The princess is in the carriage. Madam Shun and Miss Song, please take another one." The Shun family members all changed their expressions. I just love seeing them wanting to get rid of me, yet having no choice but to submit. According to this lifetime, it has been 5 years since I last set foot in the Shun residence. This place was once my home, but now, the courtyard I meticulously arranged belongs to Song Fengli. My home has become her home. In my previous life, my mother said she had personally arranged another courtyard for me. For 5 years, I missed my family day and night, and hearing my mother say that, I didn't insist on moving back to my original courtyard. This time, I had someone throw all of Song Fengli's belongings out. Seeing this, Song Fengli hurried forward to stop them and complained about me in front of our parents. If my sister wants my courtyard, she could have just said so. How could she throw my things out? That's just too overbearing. I made a gesture. The nanny walked towards Song Fengli and slapped her twice in quick succession. Song Fengli burst into tears, her pear blossom and rain appearance truly captivating. "So, I want to make her cry even more, with just one glance from me," Rongyue said, "for speaking disrespectfully to the princess, 20 slaps." So, the nanny continued to strike. My father and mother were so anxious they were pacing in circles. They pointed their fingers at me, but though they were furious, they dared not speak out. In the end, they lowered their hands without uttering a single word. I gave them a light glance and went inside to rest. I woke up before dawn. Because during those 5 years, I had to serve the emperor of Northern Yang like a slave every day, rising early to cook porridge and brew tea for him. If I failed to serve him personally and well, I would be sent to serve even more people. Even though I have been reborn and returned to Southern Chu, the scars on my body cannot be completely erased, and the habits I've formed are hard to change overnight. I lay with my eyes open, waiting until sunlight streamed through the window, after washing up. A maid from my mother's side came to deliver a message, arrogantly scolding me for sleeping in and failing to pay my respects. I picked up the teacup, while Rongyua slapped the maid. That maid had always been a bully, accustomed to throwing her weight around. In my previous life, when I first returned to the mansion, she spread rumors everywhere that I was a ruined woman and should take my own life to preserve my honor. My marriage by imperial decree, in her eyes, had become a sin. I immediately wanted to deal with her, but my biological parents tried everything to stop me, accusing me of being cruel and heartless. This time, after being beaten, the maid jumped up and shouted, "I am the lady's maid." Rongyua sneered and said, "I am the senior palace maid assigned to the princess by the empress." Mentioning the queen, the maid instantly wilted. I had her tied up and taken to the front courtyard to be publicly caned. Mother and Song Fengli arrived quickly. The maid looked at them as if they were her lifeline. "Madam, miss, please save me. Mother scolded me just like in my previous life," she said with deep sorrow. "How could I have given birth to someone like you?" I lifted my eyelids slightly and reminded her, "If it weren't for me, would you have such immense wealth now? I went to a foreign land for a marriage alliance for the sake of our country. Even the emperor said I was a meritorious servant. So how did I become a sinner in my mother's words? Could it be that mother is implying the emperor was wrong?" Mother's face turned pale with fright, and she hurriedly denied it. Father finally rushed back, and I kindly informed him of how mother had shown such disrespect toward the emperor, daring to say that the emperor was wrong. Father raised his hand and slapped mother. I signaled the attendant to release her. The two of them immediately started fighting. This kind of dog-eat-dog scene is truly amusing. I actually never saw this in my previous life. What a loss. In my previous life, I was too considerate of family ties, which allowed them to walk all over me. In this life, I mercifully let the nanny teach them some rules. I am the princess, in the Shun residence. It is not I who pays respects to others morning and evening, but they who bow and greet me. In the afternoon, Meng Huiqing came to see me. He showed me great care and wanted to rekindle our past relationship. I picked at my nails and asked casually, "What about Song Fengli?" He said sincerely, "Xiangyi, she looks so much like you. Over the past 5 years, I've missed you every single moment. Only when I see her does this longing ease a little. In my heart, it has always been only you. Now that you're back, how could I possibly think of anyone else?" Doesn't he find his own words contradictory? But it doesn't matter anyway. The key point is, he actually tried to use his charm on me. Such a great sacrifice must be for something significant. If I were to follow my previous way of thinking, I should play along with him to first figure out his true intentions. But, I am truly disgusted by him. I raised my eyebrows and sneered coldly. "Shameless thing, how dare you covet me? Guards, take him to the imperial clan court." Could I possibly give him a pleasant expression? Wouldn't that be a complete waste of a chance at rebirth? The guards escorted Meng Huiqing to the imperial clan court. I sent Rongyua to go along and explain the situation to the clan chief. No one is allowed to stop us along the way. My parents and Meng Huiqing's parents all came to plead with me, but I just won't listen. I'd rather daydream than deal with them when I have time. Meng Huiqing was reprimanded by the clan leader and then released. I didn't expect him to be locked up for long over such a trivial matter. First, serve a cold dish to tarnish his reputation a bit. Let's see how he can still pretend to be a righteous gentleman in the future. A few days later, rumors about me began to spread in the capital. They said that when I was in Northern Yang, my lips were kissed by thousands. I danced naked for the men of Northern Yang, and had miscarriages 5 or 6 times. No matter who started this rumor, I will go directly to the palace and cry my heart out in front of the emperor and empress. I am the emperor's adopted daughter, holding the title of princess in truth, and I married into an enemy nation, capturing their emperor alive. The emperor himself praised me, saying I have rendered great service. Now that such rumors are spreading, it's like slapping the emperor in the face. Moreover, it further proves that I have dedicated everything to Southern Chu and endured immense hardship in Northern Yang. I deserve proper compensation. So, how can these rumors possibly harm me? Oh, by the way, if I were fragile and cared about a woman's reputation, I might have actually hanged myself. But I was part of a marriage alliance for peace. I am a meritorious subject. I deserve to be commended by the Southern Chu court and revered by the people. The emperor bestowed upon me gold, silver, jewels, and fine silks. His grace is boundless. As I left the palace, my ears were filled with flattering words. Even my father, upon seeing me, averted his gaze and kept his distance. I stand tall with a straight back, my eyes and brows radiating confidence. Even if those rumors were true, so what? Those who should feel ashamed are the incompetent ones hiding behind a woman. Within 2 days, the Dali temple traced the source of the rumors. Meng Huiqing admitted that he was the one who sent people to do it. He wanted to retaliate in kind and ruin my reputation. Meng Huiqing was dismissed from his official position, and his father was also reprimanded by the emperor and had his salary suspended for a year. The princess's mansion was completed. I chose an auspicious day and moved in. Gifts to celebrate my housewarming kept pouring in. I hosted a banquet to express my gratitude. Guests were as numerous as clouds, and the courtyard was as bustling as a marketplace. My parents and that stand-in have also arrived. My mother walked up to me, cleared her throat, and said, "Xiangyi, you child, really, with so many distinguished guests here, how could you sit in the main seat by yourself?" I narrowed my eyes slightly and looked at her coldly. However, relying on her status as my mother, she couldn't read others' expressions and insisted on putting on airs in front of me. I sneered, 5 years ago, when father sent me away for a political marriage. "What did you say to me?" Mother's eyes darted around, and she unconsciously took half a step back, in front of everyone. I didn't mind helping her remember. "You said that since you and father gave birth to me, I should sacrifice myself for the Shun family's wealth and status as repayment for your upbringing. From then on, you would act as if you never had a daughter like me. You also said that I have a malicious heart. And your greatest regret is not having dropped me to my death right after I was born." The entire hall was shocked, with whispers and murmurs filling the air. Moreover, regardless of what others say behind my back, I am the adopted daughter of the current emperor, Princess Changning. Those slanderous words, if taken seriously, could be considered a crime of great disrespect. My mother's expression faltered, her face showing embarrassment. She wanted to vent her anger at me but didn't dare. And in the end, she could only sit back down resentfully. My father stayed comfortably out of the spotlight, not only failing to console my mother but also telling her to behave, as if to show how reasonable he was. "It's just pathetic." Song Fengli walked toward Zhaoning and said to her affectionately, "Princess, it's been a while since we last met. I've learned 2 new types of Jiangnan pastries and would like to invite you to try them." She wanted to secure her position through Zhaoning. 5 years is truly a long time, so long that Song Fengli forgot her own identity, forgot who it was that gave her a place among these imperial relatives. Zhaoning did not give her a friendly look and said coldly, "If you want to work in the imperial kitchen, you can ask which of the princes and ministers present is willing to recommend you." Song Fengli was taken aback for a moment, then slightly lowered her gaze. The teardrop hanging at the corner of her eye poised to fall yet not quite, making her appear even more delicate and pitiable, evoking a sense of tender compassion. "Unfortunately, I am the least inclined to show tenderness toward women." I let out a mocking laugh, not bothering to conceal my derision toward her. Then I picked up the peeled orange in front of me, split it in half, and said to Zhaoning, "Zhaoning, I can't finish this. I'll share half with you." Zhaoning's eyes instantly lit up, and she scurried over happily, saying sweetly, "Thank you, Sister Xiangyi." I was pleased to see Song Fengli's face turn deathly pale. I curved my lips into a smile and had Zhaoning sit beside me. She sat down obediently, feeling both flattered and surprised. Zhaoning's attitude is enough to explain everything. "I just want everyone to know that I'm back, and no random nobody can take my place. Let's see who will still fawn over Song Fengli and rush to offer her wealth and a bright future from now on." When Song Fengli returned to her seat, those who had been chatting and laughing with her earlier all fell silent. Her mother held her hand and spoke softly, at times with heartache, at times with anger. "It's truly laughable when you think about it. I endured all the hardships, while they lived in comfort and luxury thanks to the wealth I earned. In the end, not only did they fail to appreciate my kindness, but they even wished for my death. Is there any logic in this world? I can't help but wonder, am I really their biological daughter? It seems as though Song Fengli is their real daughter, and I was just picked up from somewhere. Song Fengli has climbed to a higher branch again. Among her protectors, there was now the fourth prince. She danced right in front of me, falsely accusing me of pushing her into the water. Then I had no choice but to make it true. I grabbed a fire poker, held her down in the water, and made her swallow a few extra mouthfuls. She threatened me, Shen Xiangyi, how dare you treat me like this? The fourth prince will not let you off, unfortunately. I am the kind of person who doesn't fear death. Even those with nothing to lose are afraid of me. Every time she tried to surface, I pushed her back down. I curled my lips into a smile. Aren't you curious why the fourth prince didn't show up in time? Why hasn't he come to save the beauty yet? She glared at me with the fury of a spent arrow. I mercifully told her, because he is flirting with a beauty. Song Fengli finally showed a frightened expression and cried out for help. The one who came to rescue her was Meng Huiqing. Fully aware that Song Fengli was involved with the fourth prince, he still protected her, pulling her ashore with a pained expression and wrapping his outer robe around her. He said to me with deep anguish, "Xiangyi, we grew up together. If you have any grievances, direct them at me, don't harm others, all right? You go die first." I obligingly took the fire poker in my hand and struck down with all my might. Meng Huiqing was beaten into silence. Song Fengli trembled with fear, tears streaming down her face. Seeing them in pain brings me joy, until the general grabbed the fire poker, snatched it away, and threw it aside. A glint of triumph flashed in Meng Huiqing's eyes. No wonder he didn't fight back, he was waiting for me here all along. But would I be afraid? 5 years ago, after the great general was defeated, he personally led the bridal escort team to accompany me to northern Yang for a political marriage. At that time, at the border between the two countries, I only said one sentence to him: to send a mere woman to secure the state. I wonder where the general's use is. The unyielding and mighty general's eyes reddened. He knelt at my feet and solemnly vowed to regroup and bring me back to Chu. 5 years later, the general fulfilled his promise. Leading his army to crush northern Yang, on the return to the capital, the general showed me exceptional care. I could see that he had a strong sense of justice, a heavy sense of responsibility, and was particularly pedantic. He has always blamed himself for the defeat and the peace marriage 5 years ago. Therefore, he felt guilty toward me. Song Fengli bowed in gratitude to the general, revealing a pitiful and delicate appearance. Meng Huiqing also endured the intense pain and expressed his thanks. The two of them looked like a pair of ill-fated lovers. As for me, I was arrogant and domineering, ruthless and cruel. The general shook his head and sighed, then allowed Meng Huiqing and Song Fengli to leave. After they had gone, he bowed to me and said, "Princess, I have 2 sons under my care. The eldest has repeatedly achieved military merits and currently serves as a guerrilla general. The younger son has also completed his studies and has just begun his official duties. Both are of marriageable age and have not yet been betrothed." I was taken aback for a moment, then burst into laughter. The Grand General intends to offer one of his sons to redeem me. I raised my eyebrows. The dynasty has a rule that the consort of a princess does not hold real power. The loyal and patriotic Grand General, however, said, "Galloping across the battlefield and fighting bravely to kill the enemy is indeed exhilarating and brings glory, but it also means risking one's life. If my son were fortunate enough to marry the princess, he would no longer have to fight on the battlefield and endure the harsh conditions at the remote frontier. He could stay in the capital and live a leisurely, wealthy life as a royal son-in-law. Why wouldn't that be desirable?" I stared at him intently, but he was sincere and genuine. "I can't find a single flaw. He is a great general who has fought many battles. The defeat and peace marriage 5 years ago were due to internal strife in the southern Chu court and the dispersal of military forces, which led to being defeated one by one. It cannot be blamed on him. On the contrary, over the past 5 years, the general has been able to regroup, gather a large army, and conquer northern Yang. That is his ability. He led the army to welcome me back to Chu, which is both a merit and a kindness. He defended the border and protected the nation, with his entire family loyal and heroic. He was the pillar of stability for southern Chu and a hero in the hearts of the people. After being reborn, I felt like causing chaos for everyone. even picking fights with dogs passing by. But when facing the great general, I didn't want to make things difficult for him. I took a deep breath and said, "It was Song Fengli who jumped into the water herself. She wanted to frame me, so I made sure she got what she deserved. She climbed up to the fourth prince. If I hadn't sent someone to trip him up, she would have succeeded just now. If the fourth prince confronts me, I really won't know how to handle it." The general did not respond, still thinks I'm wrong. I lowered my gaze and turned to leave, but then I heard the general say, "Your Highness, you shouldn't have done it yourself. You could have just given the order." I paused in my steps and couldn't help but curl the corners of my lips. I've learned my lesson. When I entered the palace to pay my respects, I encountered the fourth prince's consort in the empress's quarters. We had met several times before at palace banquets and gatherings of noble families, so we were not complete strangers. When I knelt to pay respects to the empress, the fourth prince's consort also knelt alongside me. It seemed she had something to say to me privately. She caught up with me and had her attendants step back a bit. Then, as if giving me a heads up, she said, "Chongning, the fourth prince intends to request an imperial decree to make Song Fengli his consort. I'm afraid she will give you a hard time in the future." I immediately replied, "Miss Song is charming and adorable. His Highness is truly fortunate." This left the fourth prince's consort momentarily speechless. After a long while, she finally put away her feigned expression and said, "What kind of person Song Fengli is, we both know very well. If she becomes the prince's concubine, you'll have to think twice before dealing with her again." I remained unmoved. I am a princess who married for the sake of the nation. What can she do to me? At most, I'll just close my doors and live my own life. Chongning, fourth princess consort, please rest assured, Chongning will not hold any grudge against you and the fourth prince because of Song Fengli. Only then did the fourth princess consort anxiously say, "Chongning, please consider this as helping me. Song Fengli cannot enter the prince's residence. That's more like it. When asking for a favor, one should have the right attitude. No one should think they can use me as a pawn for free." I said slowly, "As far as I know, the fourth prince already has a consort, as well as several concubines and attendants. Why is it that the fourth princess consort can't tolerate Song Fengli alone?" The fourth princess consort linked her arm with mine and whispered closely, "Just at the beginning of the year, at Zhao birthday banquet, I saw with my own eyes that she was involved with the second prince." I tilted my head slightly and examined her carefully. She said, "Everyone in the capital thinks that Meng Huiqing treats her as your substitute, and they are a pair. She and the second prince kept their affair so well hidden that I can't help but suspect her motives for getting close to the fourth prince." I was away for 5 years. Song Fengli appeared after I left. In my previous life, I had someone investigate her, and her past was as clean as a blank sheet of paper. Yet, she excels in every aspect of music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, and even understands the etiquette of the palace. Either she is a genius who masters everything upon first learning, or she is a spy. I bid farewell to the fourth prince's consort and turned back to the palace to meet the emperor. I sought an imperial decree to visit the Marquis of Anli, that is, the deposed emperor of northern Yang, after he was brought to the Chu capital, to stabilize the hearts of the northern Yang subjects. The emperor did not kill him immediately but instead granted him the title of Marquis of Anli and placed him under house arrest at the Maple Bridge Villa. I showed my token, and the imperial guards responsible for guarding the villa let me in. The deposed emperor was seen squinting his eyes. Lying on a recliner under the tree, he looked utterly at ease. I sneered coldly, "It's been many days since we last met. Lord Anli, you seem to have lost some weight." He abruptly opened his eyes, staring intently at me, then sneered back in the same manner. "The princess, on the other hand, has gained quite a bit of plumpness, sleeping in until the sun is high in the sky, having clothes handed to you and meals served to you. No longer needing to wait on others. This kind of life is truly comfortable." He stared at me intently without responding. I continued, "Let me share some good news with the Marquis. The people of Yang are now living in peace and contentment, all praising the current emperor for his diligence and care for the people. They've even composed operas condemning the former northern Yang deposed emperor for his debauchery and tyranny." I emphasized the words deposed emperor heavily. He looked at me with a sharp gaze. I gave a charming smile, deliberately trying to provoke him. he said seriously. You didn't come just to say these meaningless words, did you? Of course not, I spoke nonsense with my eyes wide open. A day as husband and wife brings 100 days of affection, of course. I came to visit because I was thinking of the Marquis. He narrowed his eyes slightly and suddenly chuckled lightly. I've never been able to tell which of your words are true and which are false, I said. Your lordship can exchange one truth from me for one truth from you. He gave me a look as if he had seen through me. So that's your real intention, isn't it? I didn't deny it and asked him, how many spies have you placed in southern Chu? He said, there are so many that I can't even remember them all. But you can rest assured, with Yang gone, they are just ordinary commoners now. I pondered the credibility of his words. He asked, in the past 5 years, was there even a single moment when you were happy? I told him truthfully, no. He seemed deeply hurt. So you were just trying to please me. It was all a lie. In northern Yang, I forced myself to learn how to pretend overnight, transforming from a punching bag into a sweet-talking charmer. If I couldn't serve him well and make him happy, the consequences awaiting me would be unbearable. Whenever I think of those days in northern Yang, I want to kill him, he said. When you walked into the Tai Chi Hall, I guessed what you were going to do. With the country destroyed and my family lost, I am willing to help you one last time before I die, as if he had genuine feelings for me. Unfortunately, I am not an innocent young girl. I have experienced being abandoned by my family and a death followed by rebirth. His words cannot deceive me. Moreover, in his previous life, he had tried to escape and was shot to death by a volley of arrows outside the Taiji Hall. In this life, he didn't have time to run. He should thank me. I continued to ask, does the Marquis remember a woman who resembled me in appearance and was also a spy? He stared at me blankly for a moment, then laughed and said, if she were like you, I would never have the heart to send her as a spy. I also laughed, walked around behind him, and placed both hands on his neck, applying a little pressure. You dare to kill me? He didn't move, but after observing him for 5 years, I could tell that besides the anger in his voice, there was also a hint of panic. I laughed and moved my hand away. I wouldn't dare. I just wanted to scare him a little, because he used to love scaring me the most. He said that if I didn't listen or behave, he would send me to the military camp. He also said he would kill all the attendants who came with me for the marriage alliance, making me bear the burden of many lives and become a sinner. When the roles are reversed, it's quite amusing to be at the mercy of others. Let me calculate how many more days he has left to live. Song Fangli is involved with 2 princes. As long as it is proven that she is a spy, the emperor will definitely not spare her life. The northern Yang has fallen. As Princess Changning, who was married off to northern Yang for 5 years, is it really that difficult to prove someone is a northern Yang spy? Of course not. After leaving Maple Bridge Villa, I made a detour to the Dali Temple before returning to the princess's residence. A palace attendant reported that the second prince's consort had sent an invitation, asking me to attend a flower viewing banquet. I gladly accepted the invitation. The emperor had delayed appointing a crown prince, and the most competitive candidates were the eldest prince and the second prince. My first priority was to confirm whether Song Fangli was connected to the second prince and whether what the fourth prince's consort said was true. By the time I arrived, the fourth prince's consort was already there, chatting and laughing with the second prince's consort. The 2 of them looked like ordinary sisters-in-law getting along harmoniously. The second prince's consort greeted me with a smile, finding some nice words to praise this madwoman, just as we were happily chatting and laughing. Song Fangli arrived. Both the fourth prince's consort and I changed our expressions at the same time. After all, in everyone's eyes, she is our rival in love. I scoffed lightly. Miss Song, where is your Meng Huaiqing? Song Fangli looked aggrieved again and said, Your Highness has misunderstood. In the past, young Master Meng took care of Fangli because he pitied her, and even more so out of consideration for Your Highness, perhaps because she had gained support. Or perhaps because she felt her ambitions were about to be realized, she became bolder. Then, changing the subject, she added, The princess and young Master Meng grew up together and have always been very close. If there is any misunderstanding between them, it should be resolved as soon as possible. It made me burst out laughing. I discreetly glanced around the room. Almost everyone was watching the scene with amusement, except for Zhaoning and the fourth prince's consort. who showed some concern and anger. While the second prince's consort was observing us, the fourth princess consort sneered coldly. Princess Changning is of noble status. How could someone like Meng Huiqing dare to aspire to her? By saying such things, Miss Song, you are not belittling Changning, but rather the emperor, the empress, and even the entire imperial family. With such a serious accusation leveled against her, Song Fangli panicked and hurriedly apologized. Then resentfully retreated to the side. I glanced at her and the fourth princess consort with a faint, ambiguous smile. They were about to share the same husband. For the sake of the fourth prince, they could be rivals in love, or they could stand united on the same front. The olive branch extended by the fourth prince's consort came at just the right time, but I cannot easily accept it, nor is there any need to accept it. I waved to Zhaoning. It's better to chat with a kind-hearted sister. During the banquet, a young maid accidentally spilled tea on my dress while serving. I tried hard to hold back, so I wouldn't laugh. Such clumsy tactics. Are they afraid I won't notice something fishy? The second prince's consort scolded the little maid, apologized to me, and had her personal maid lead me to the side room to change my clothes. Zhaoning looked at me nervously. Sister Xiangyi, were you scalded? I smiled at her. It's warm water, not hot. Zhaoning breathed a sigh of relief. I said to her, Zhaoning, come with me. Okay. Zhaoning didn't suspect anything and immediately agreed. The fourth princess consort said, I was just about to ask Zhaoning to play a round of leaf cards. You two go quickly and come back soon. If it weren't for the last half of her sentence, I would have immediately suspected something was amiss. The maid led us to the side chamber, took the clothes from a young servant girl, and handed them to Rongyue, saying respectfully, Please change your clothes, Your Highness. I will wait outside the door. Zhaoning scratched her head foolishly and said, Sister Xiangyi, I'll wait for you on the other side of the screen. I chuckled, just a little water stain. It'll dry in a moment with the breeze. I made a shushing gesture, signaling her to quietly follow me to the window. Not far away, someone was waiting there. Judging by the figure, it was undoubtedly a man. Zhaoning is kind-hearted and not very scheming. But having grown up in the palace, she could easily guess what was happening after seeing such a situation and recalling the earlier details. Someone knocked on the door. The second prince's consort is concerned that the princess might catch a chill, so she specifically ordered this servant to bring a bowl of ginger soup. Rongyue opened the door. It was another maid from the second prince's consort. I took 2 sips in front of the maid and casually placed the cup on the table. The maid said, Princess Zhaoning, the fourth prince's consort has urged you twice already. I pretended to feel dizzy, reached out to steady my head, and said, Zhaoning, you go ahead and accompany the royal sisters-in-law. I'll rest for a moment and join you shortly. Zhaoning followed the maid out. Before long, a group of people came looking for me in a grand procession. Indescribable sounds came from the side room. The fourth prince's consort asked, Has Changning been in the side room all along? The second prince's consort said, It can't be Changning. Everyone, stay away. The crowd was buzzing with discussion. After all, she has been married to Northern Yang for 5 years and has long lost all sense of propriety and shame. She doesn't even show filial piety to her own parents. The rumors before were not without reason. Who knows, she's not a real princess anyway. After something like this, I wonder how she'll still have the nerve to call herself a princess. Behind them, Zhaoning's eyes turned red, even angrier than I was. I advised her not to be angry, then curled my lips and raised my voice, saying, I just went to look for you all and wondered where everyone had gone. So you're here. Everyone turned around together, all looking at me in disbelief. The sounds from the side room continued to echo out. The 2 princesses exchanged a glance, their expressions changing abruptly. Then they pushed the door open and rushed inside, as expected of sisters-in-law. Even their expressions and actions were identical. Immediately after, screams came from the side chamber. The second princess's maid blocked the doorway, preventing anyone else from entering, but those walking ahead still saw it. The ones having an affair in the side room were the second prince and Song Fangli. In this play, many people were involved in the scheme. Song Fangli and the second prince had long been colluding. She had bribed the second princess consort's personal maid through the second prince's eunuch. She wants to send me to the fourth prince's bed at the second prince's consort's banquet. However, both consorts are not easy to deal with, and they both know about this plan. The second prince's consort is turning the scheme to her advantage, intending to use my hand to eliminate Song Fengli. The bowl of ginger soup she had another maid deliver was laced with ingredients that would enhance the effects of the incense in the side chamber. If I fall into the trap, I will definitely kill Song Fengli, although I never intended to let her go anyway. The second prince's consort doesn't know that she wants to give me a push from behind. The fourth prince's consort also wants to get rid of Song Fengli. After the maid splashed water on me, she deliberately warned me that there was a trick. She was waiting for me to bring Song Fengli over, then she planned to turn the fourth prince into the second prince. Zhao fell silent for a moment after hearing what I said, then asked, "Sister Xiangyi, is your health all right?" I slightly lowered my gaze. I've smelled that kind of incense countless times in the Northern Yang Palace. The faint scent in the side room wouldn't even enhance the mood at the height of passion, let alone harm the body. The one with the real potent effect was that bowl of ginger soup. I pretended to take a couple of sips, then poured the rest into Song Fengli's mouth. The second prince's consort came out of the side room and told everyone to disperse. When she looked at me, a fierce cruelty shone from the depths of her eyes. I raised my eyebrows at her and gave a charming smile. The main goal is to keep myself refreshed and cheerful, while making others so angry they fall ill. The second prince requested an imperial decree, granting Song Fengli the status of a consort. It has to be said, she really knows how to handle men. She is to be married from the Shun residence. My parents have formally recognized her as their adopted daughter, prepared a dowry for her, and will see her off to her wedding. Mother sent a respectable housekeeper from the estate to invite me over. I sent someone to inquire at the Dali temple. Then, I happily went to the Shun residence. Song Fengli said to me arrogantly, "Shun Xiangyi, you schemed against me and made me the second prince's consort. I should thank you. One day, I will trample you under my feet and let everyone know that I am Song Fengli, and you are just someone who looks a bit like me." I chuckled lightly. "So that's what you care about? Then from the very beginning, you shouldn't have used my identity and achievements, just be yourself properly. Trying to have it both ways is truly laughable," she retorted sharply. "You were sent for a political marriage, sold off to Northern Yang. Everyone knows you're nothing but a worn-out shoe, slept through by the Northern Yang men, and yet you still act as if you're some kind of hero. Otherwise, why do you think your own parents treat me as their own child, yet remain cold toward you? Your very existence is their stain." I slapped her. Rongyue immediately stepped forward to wipe my hand, instinctively blowing on it to soothe it. "How dare you hit me?" Song Fengli covered half of her face, trembling with rage. "Of course I dare," and I struck again, to make both sides of her face symmetrical. I narrowed my eyes slightly. "I have rendered great service to Great Chu, as His Majesty himself has declared. If you dare say His Majesty is wrong, that is the crime of disrespect. I fear even the second prince would not tolerate you. I am the one who arranged the marriage alliance for Southern Chu, and I am a meritorious subject. This was personally acknowledged by the current emperor. Anyone who dares to belittle me is questioning the emperor's words. Arranging the marriage alliance is a merit, not a fault. No one can use this matter to attack me." Song Fengli glared at me with gritted teeth. "Shun Xiangyi, you won't be smug for long," I sneered repeatedly. "And how long will you be smug? Don't even mention that you haven't yet entered the second prince's residence. Even if you do, what then?" She glared at me viciously before being urged out the door by the wedding escort. I stood under the corridor, glancing from afar. There were many guests, and my parents were beaming with joy, their smiles as bright as flowers. Rongyue gave a light cough, looking as if she were facing a formidable enemy. It was only then that I noticed Meng Huiqing had approached us at some point. He stood by my side, gazing at the festive and lively scene, and sighed. "When you went off for a political marriage, I didn't dare to see you off. When she got married, I didn't dare to either. When you were in Northern Yang, I was beyond reach. But the second prince's residence is right here in the imperial city. I can protect her quietly." Instead of getting angry, I laughed. "Don't come to me looking for trouble. Besides, he can't protect Song Fengli. Because I can already hear the sound of hurried footsteps approaching, involving the second prince. The emperor will first protect his own son and the reputation of the royal family, and will not allow Song Fengli to implicate him. Therefore, The Dali temple will take her away before Song Fengli leaves the house." Song Fengli shouted, "I am the second prince's consort. Who dares to touch me?" The chief of the Dali temple personally stepped forward. "By the emperor's decree, take her away." Everyone who came to the wedding banquet witnessed the bride being arrested with their own eyes. My parents and Meng Huiqing were also taken away in full view of everyone. Someone approached me and asked, "Princess, what is going on?" I shrugged and said, "Perhaps the prospective concubine has committed some offense. My parents and Meng Huiqing have been too closely involved with her, so it's only natural that they've been summoned by the Dali temple for questioning. I trust the Dali temple will get to the bottom of this. The efficiency of the Dali temple is very high. I only provided some half-truth clues, and they managed to uncover a lot of information by following the leads. Song Fengli was indeed a spy from northern Yang. She came to the side of the second prince, and after he saw her appearance, he introduced her to Meng Huiqing. From then on, Song Fengli took up residence in the Shen residence, gradually replacing me, using her face, which resembles mine. She won Zhaoning's sympathy. By exploiting Zhaoning's guilt toward me, she became a guest of honor among the nobles and stole many secrets. However, in the face of absolute power, any schemes and tricks are useless. The situation of the war changes rapidly, and the general's decisions are all based on the actual circumstances at the time. No matter how much information Song Fengli obtains, she cannot influence the overall situation. She killed all the northern Yang spies who knew her true identity and truly became the second prince's person. After I return to the court, I will make everyone realize that Song Fengli cannot replace me. Her face, which resembles mine, will no longer be of any use. The second prince wanted to place her by the fourth prince's side, which led to the subsequent events. A few days later, the minister of Dali Temple sent someone to inform me that Song Fengli had died in prison, and my parents and Meng Huiqing could not be released yet. I had that person take a message back, "Follow the laws of Great Chu, and I will absolutely not interfere." In the end, the emperor made the final decision, to protect the second prince. All the blame was shifted onto the spy, Song Fengli. My father was dismissed from his official post, and Meng Huiqing's career was also ruined, but at least they both came out safely. My parents came to the princess's mansion every day, begging for my forgiveness. Taking advantage of the crowd in front of the mansion, I raised my voice and said, "You keep claiming to be my parents, but you sold your daughter for glory, and that's the end of it. For the sake of Great Chu, I am willing to do anything. I gladly accept this marriage alliance. But when I returned after narrowly escaping death, you wished for my demise instead, treating that spy as a precious jewel. Now that you've been implicated by the spy, with father dismissed from his post, you finally remember my worth. But how can such good fortune exist in this world? I've faced death countless times in northern Yang. The debt of life and upbringing has been repaid. This is what you yourselves declared. But I'm not like you. I'm not as heartless as you are. I will give you monthly support money. As for how much and how often, that will depend on my mood." The onlookers were buzzing with discussion, and my parents finally left. The crown prince and Zhaoning walked over. I quickly invited them into the residence. Just now, I had received Zhaoning's notification in advance, knowing that the crown prince was among the crowd, which is why I deliberately said those things. The crown prince said, "Princess Changning is clear in her likes and dislikes, full of affection and righteousness, and utterly loyal to Great Chu. I deeply admire her. In the future, if you have any needs, feel free to ask me. Thank you, Your Highness." Since returning to Chu, Changning has been doing well in every way. With those words from the crown prince, I feel even better. After the crown prince took his leave, Zhaoning told me that the second prince had been demoted to his fiefdom, and neither he nor the fourth prince could stir up any trouble. I nodded. If I weren't completely confident, why would I go against a prince? As long as we present evidence of the two princes' wrongdoings, the crown prince wanted to suppress them more than anyone else. Not long after, news came from the Maple Bridge Villa that the Marquis of Anley had passed away. The spy he planted dragged the prince into the mess. How could the emperor possibly spare him? And so, he finally met his end, and my good days are still long ahead. The end.